Namaste Bhaiya. Am I audible?
जी भैया, you're audible.
भैया, welcome.
Yeah. Namaste. So we have
Namaste. We may start. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you. So we are conducting this follow-up meeting every Wednesday after this November 2020 workshop conducted for the students by the AICTE to continue exploration for the students and the faculty members. Every Wednesday from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. we conduct this universal human value content. We discuss about the proposals of the universal human value content in the follow-up meetings. And on Fridays from 7:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. we discuss the content of holistic health. This is what is usually happening in these follow-up meetings. And now in many of the colleges, SIP is being conducted. In some of the institutions it is finished, in some of the colleges it is being conducted. So many students, some of them would have joined, some of them is yet to join, I suppose, would be having some sharing with regard to the experience in this SIP. I can see that many of the students are also joining through this YouTube channel. So those who are joined in the meeting, they can, if they wish to share something with regard to their exploration in the past 1 week, or with regard to the SIP, experience in the SIP, which they have had in the previous week or the week before that, or recently, they can share it now. Yeah, mic has been given to many of you. You can place your sharing if you have any experience of self-exploration or the experience from the SIP which you have attended recently. You can see Aryan Chobe Ji, Sai Chandana Ji, Sai Vardhan Ji, Vidya Ji, they have been given the mics. If any one of them wish to share something with regard to their self-exploration or with regard to the institutional SIP which has been conducted, we can take some time for that in the beginning. I hope I am audible.
जी भैया, you're audible.
Okay, nice. Fine. Okay, all right. Yeah, so whenever they, the participants wish like, they can place their sharing, no issues. You can raise your hand, mic will be given to you. If there is, mic is not available to you, mic will be given to you, right? Let us continue with our discussion in last Wednesday. We have been discussing with regard to this trust. The foundation value or the foundation feeling in relationship. So we have recognized the relationship between human beings. It is there. But many a times we do not see that this relationship is there between human beings. And sometimes we take that the relationship is between human beings who are blood related. Family members, for example. But when we come to the college institution, friends are there, the teachers are there, other staff of the college will be there. And when we come closer to them, we can also see that even though there is no blood relation, they are also related to us. Every one of them is related. This can be recognized by every human being, you and me. And when we interact with the other human being with right understanding, the relationships will, in the relationships, we can recognize the right feelings also. So we have started discussion about this naturally acceptable feelings in a couple of Wednesdays before, and we continue with that discussion today also. We have discussed something regarding trust in the previous meeting. So right now, if any of the co-explorer has any sharing with regard to this feeling of trust, they can place it. Mics are given to many of you, and if you raise your hand, mic will be given to you if you wish to share something. All right, so we have been discussing about trust. We started discussion about this in the previous Wednesday's meeting. Let us go for a quick recap of what we have discussed in the previous meeting. That is why I have taken this particular slide before you. Yeah, so this is the proposal put before you. Trust is to be assured. If you go to the details, you can see that to be assured, to have the clarity that the other wants to make me happy and prosperous. So when we place this proposal in a student's workshop or in a faculty workshop, in the beginning, it is maybe a bit, it may take a bit of a time for the participants to explore to this particular proposal that the other wants to make me happy and prosperous. So we continue our discussion to these questions. Discuss that I am one of the persons and the other person, maybe a very close relative of mine, is standing on the other side. And we ask these questions about natural acceptance. I want to make myself happy. Do I? I want to make the other happy. Do I? The other wants to make himself or herself happy. Does he or she? The other wants to make me happy. So these questions, these just proposals are placed and the questions were asked like yes or no question, and as per the responses we put, yeah, usually I can see that I want to make myself happy very easily. This is my natural acceptance. I also can see that I want to make the other happy. That is also my natural acceptance. But when I discuss with, when I think of the other, whether the other wants to make himself or herself happy, I can also see this as a consequence of question 1A. When I want to make myself happy, the other wants to make himself or herself happy too. But this is something which is not that easy to be seen. The other wants to make me happy. And then we continue the discussion upon this about ability part or the competence part. I'm able to make myself always happy. Am I? I'm able to make the other always happy. Am I? We ask the question. The other is able to make herself or himself always happy. Is the other? The other is able to make me always happy. So these questions are asked. Proposals are placed, and the questions are asked like yes or no questions, and then the responses are collected. This is to explore and verify. So ability part, we are many times suspicious. Whether I'm able to make myself always happy, I cannot see that. Because sometimes I'm happy, sometimes I'm unhappy. So this is something bit difficult to be seen. Then this also we can put a question mark. If I cannot see that I am able to make myself always happy, I'm not able to see that if I am able to make the other always happy. So is the result of this question. So there is suspicion. But when it comes to question number 4b, there is double question mark, because already we have a question mark with the intention part or the natural acceptance part. So ability part is questioned with, put with double question mark. So the questions on the left is regarding natural acceptance, and the questions on the right are with regard to the competence or the ability part. What you are currently, what is my imagination currently? This is on the right hand side. And what I want to be, or what is my natural acceptance, what is naturally acceptable to you, this is the left hand side. Now when we evaluate the other person, the evaluation usually goes via this box on the bottom, right bottom. This is the competence of the other person. But when I evaluate myself, I evaluate myself on the basis of my intention or my natural acceptance. But when the evaluation is on the basis of competence of the other person, thinking that that is the intention of the other person, then the evaluation goes wrong. This is the point to which we need to bring our attention to. So the box on left top is my natural acceptance, and the box on right bottom is the competence of the other person. Competence wise, we are different, but intention of every human being is same. We are trying to bring the attention to this point. So we have discussed about this particular aspect also in the previous meeting. My imagination, what I am right now, is guided by these three sources: preconditioning, sensations, and my natural acceptance. In my current state, my imagination may be largely sourced by my preconditioning and my sensations. So preconditioning is my preconceived notions which exist in my society, my home, or likewise, maybe in my institution, there are certain preconditioning. Whatever I receive through my senses, that is adding to my sensation part, this black part. And largely, when my imagination is guided by my preconditioning or sensation, there will be this doubt on intention. I doubt the other on his or her intention. Only a very small part of my imagination is guided by this self-verification on the basis of natural acceptance. So the desired state is, I wish to cover the entire circle with this yellow portion. My natural acceptance, I wish to verify this preconditioning, I wish to verify this sensation, whether it is naturally acceptable to me. So when I verify this, there is no longer this preconditioning or sensation, but that becomes my natural acceptance. So competence of a person is that part of my imagination which is guided, that part of imagination which is guided by this self-verification on the basis of natural acceptance. That is what we discussed in the previous day. And the remaining part is lack of competence. So this, we can say this is lack of competence and this is my competence part. So when I have this lack of competence, largely I have this doubt on intention. And that is going to reflect in my behavior with the other human beings and work with the rest of the nature. So this is what we have discussed the previous Wednesday. So this is there. I have this doubt on intention. I evaluate the other person on the basis of his competence, his or her competence, rather than intention. But I evaluate myself on the basis of my intention. So this is what is happening largely in the present scenario. So this example also has been discussed in the previous meeting, and I think we stopped towards the end of this slide when we open up the entire slide. A glass is broken. So when the other broke the glass, what I say is I doubt his intention. He makes mistakes intentionally. I have a feeling of opposition, get irritated, angry, etc. I reinforce that the other is bad and cannot improve. This is my this is what I conclude, rather evaluate with regard to the other when the glass is broken by the other. But when this is happening with me, when I break the glass, what I evaluate, how I evaluate is the glass is broken by accident. And even if I make the same mistake 100 times, I never doubt my intention. I make mistakes by accident. This is what I evaluate on myself, of myself. I have a feeling that I am special. I never make mistakes. I reinforce that I am good. I do not make effort to improve my own competence. So this is my evaluation upon myself, because I evaluate on the basis of my intention and evaluate the other on the basis of his or her competence. So doubt on intention is a major reason for problems in relationships. What happens is I may not speak to the other for days or even break up the relationship. One may have lost many good friends like this. So this is a relationship without right understanding, I would say. This is the point where we stopped. This is the slide at which we have stopped in the previous meeting. So if any sharing is there from the participants, you are welcome. Any questions, any sharing, any takeaways, or any experiential validation of the proposals? For many of us, this content has been seen many times in several workshops, and we have also would have read the book also. So the content is very much reinforced within us, but what is required is now experiential validation. Is that happening with us? If so, we can connect with some of your experience and share it to the benefit of every one of us. Mics are given to many of you, I can say this. So if you have a question or if you have any sharing, you can place it. All right. Anytime, if you have a sharing, you can raise your hand. If the mic is not with you, it will be provided to you for sure. And also you can place your sharing in the chat box. Whenever some questions are there, sometimes somebody else may ask the question. So whenever somebody asks a question, it is for many of us. This, I may feel that this question was there in my mind also, but since the other person has asked a question, okay, I am also resolved through this response. So this feeling will be there. Today also I experienced similar situations when I conducted this SIP for the newly joined first year students in my institution. I have been discussing with regard to the basic human aspirations, the exploring the basic human aspirations, that is the second session, and fulfillment of the basic human aspiration, that is a session number 3 in this SIP program, UHV SIP program. So there were several questions, like the usual questions like happiness, I am bored of happiness, or if I am continuously happy, I will be bored of happiness. How can I be happy in continuity? These questions were raised by the students. So the question which is asked by one of the students is actually there with several other students also. So when I try to help them to explore, many other students also were telling that this was there with them, and it also helped them to explore. So this is my experience today with my students. So if any one of you is having any kind of sharing, you can place it here, or you can place it in the chat box. Okay, so what we say here largely is doubt on intention is a major reason for problems in relationships. I may not speak to the other for days. One may have lost many good friends like this. So what is needed? This is what is happening because I evaluate myself on the basis of my intention and evaluate the other on the basis of his or her competence. So how can I come out of this? Let us see this self-reflection. You can respond in the chat box. This question would have been asked to you several times. Still, as part of our own self-exploration, you can put a response in the chat box. If you have unconditional, continuous trust on intention, natural acceptance, and if the other is lacking competence, what will you do? Yeah. Will you try to improve his competence and improve my competence? Will you get irritated? Will you get angry? Will you having a feeling of opposition? I'm getting responses in the chat box. Anbarachuji is typing A. Jagdish Paya is typing A in the chat box. Try to improve his competence. Manjusha ji is typing A in the chat box. Shashi Chandana ji, Sai Chandana ji is typing A in the chat box. Nice. So this is something which we have verified and we have been exploring in this line, that I try to improve his competence. Rather, I try help to improve his competence. And before that, I make sure that I improve my competence also. So when A is my choice, that is trust on intention, response. If B, C, or D is my choice, that is, if I get irritated, if I get angry, and if I have a feeling of opposition, then we say this is doubt on intention. That is reaction. So when somebody is hitting the back of my car, let's say, back of my vehicle, even if I got irritated because of that, I get out of my vehicle and start arguing with him, telling him or the other driver that this is your mistake. I never do mistakes. You are coming from back and you hit my vehicle. This is your mistake. I try to reinforce that you are guilty, not me. But the actual reason may be something else. We have to find it out. So this is the reaction mode. I'm getting irritated. I'm getting angry. I'm having a feeling of opposition with the other. I would not have met the other person before, the other driver. But suddenly I generate a feeling of opposition with the other because of this doubt or intention. Intentionally, he had hit the back of my vehicle, and that has caused some kind of a damage to my vehicle. But when I realized that this is can also be because I put the brake suddenly, that the vehicle which is coming from back, that has hit my vehicle which is in front. So it is partly because of my lack of competence also. Then I can resolve the issue. So when the passers-by also come surrounding us, surrounding me and the other driver, then the situation goes worse. So there, this doubt on intention, the reaction is going to increase. Some of the passers-by may join with me, some of the passers-by may join with the other. Situation is getting worse. And sometimes there may not be a solution to this also. Yeah. So if I can see the reason for this, and also see that the vehicle is a material, and the materials are like deforming and forming. So if I can repair the material or the car, I can do that. Even otherwise, because it's a material, I can replace a material with another material. If I can see this doubt or intention will not be there. the other person also would have had damage to his vehicle. So he would not do this intentionally. It is because of his lack of competence. If you can see this, that there is lack of competence in me, as well as there is lack of competence in the other, and the other person would not intentionally hit his vehicle onto me, then response mode will appear. Rather, I will be in my response mode and discuss this matter with a feeling of relationship with the other. I can also recognize that the other person is related to me, the other driver is also related to me. So with a feeling of affection, I can discuss this, or with a feeling of trust, with a feeling of trust on intention, I can discuss this matter with the other. I'm just telling an example. Maybe the example may be hypothetical, or it would have happened to many of us. So when there is trust on intention, I have this response mode, and when there is doubt on intention, I have this reaction mode. I'll be in this reaction mode. This is what I'm trying to bring your attention to. Are you able to see this? When there is doubt on intention, I go into this reaction mode, or you go into reaction mode, and when there is trust on intention of the other person, I go into response mode. What about you? Is there trust on intention, or is there doubt on intention? How many persons do you have this trust on intention, or this natural acceptance? Unconditional, continuous. Jagdish Babu Paya is typing mostly doubt on intention. Reaction mode, yeah. So this is my current status. I will be going into reaction mode. The example which I have quoted is just an example. So you can also share your experience in when you are going into doubt on intention. We say mostly doubt on intention because this is my current state. This is not the state which I want to be. I want to be in my natural acceptance. I want to be in a state of trust on intention, but many times because of my lack of competence, I may not be able to. Jagdish Bhaiya, would you like to share something from your side? It would be nice.
Most of the time it is doubt of intention.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's reaction mode only. We see that the other intentionally want to hurt me, or he has done intentionally. So we never see their lack of competence. We see their intention. When it comes to us, yeah, we see our intention. And we also lack in competence. We don't understand what is the reality. And we get into reaction mode.
Would you like to quote any example?
Many instances are there. What happened last week? A bus driver came very fast and then in the wrong route, and he put lot of muddy puddle on my car. So then for one moment I wanted to go and get reaction, show some anger on him, but I then gave one moment to think that okay, he has not done intentionally. So then I kept quiet. So it was then very calm, and so it was response then. So it was nice to see that at that moment.
Nice, Priya. Very nice. So the evaluation is happening within you, and you could transform the doubt on intention to trust on intention, and the reaction mode to response mode.
Yes.
Yeah. Nice, Priya. Thank you.
Thank you.
So any other co-explorer would like to share anything with regard to the question which is asked? How many persons do you have trust on intention, unconditional, continuous? Can you put a response in the chat box, including your relatives, colleagues, friends, other persons whom you have any kind of connection? So how many will be there to whom you have trust on intention at this moment? When I say trust on intention, it is unconditional and continuous, as you can see on screen. Can we write any number here? Yeah, you can put something in the chat box. Maybe someone, when this question is asked to to the students, sometimes they say that say a few. They won't say any number, like a few. Somebody may say very few. Somebody may say some number. Like, let us also explore, and they can put a number in the chat box. How many persons do you? Yeah, Jagdish Bhai is saying 0. That is also a good exploration. Trust on intention with nobody, because it is stated that unconditional, continuous. So this also is a desired state. Trust on intention, unconditional, continuous is a desired state. We can explore within ourselves that how many persons can we have this particular feeling of trust on intention. All right. So this is fundamental. Trust on intention is the foundation of relationship. So when I evaluate the other person on the basis of his intention rather than competence, I can see that as a consequence of I want to make the other happy, the other also wants to make me happy. This is my desired state. This is my natural acceptance. This is what I want to be. You can get an idea of the state of your understanding about relationship from this exploration. There is a relationship for sure, that is something which we can recognize, but whether there is right understanding in this relationship, whether my right understanding is affecting my relationship, this is what we discuss here. So feeling born out of understanding can be definite, unconditional, continuous. So this trust, which is a foundation feeling in relationship, is one of the naturally acceptable feelings, we say, and that is a fundamental feeling. Let us explore and try to develop this right understanding on my relationship with the other human beings and try to make it naturally acceptable. Sometimes what happens is when so today also I discussed with the students that when there are two good friends, very good friends, very thick friends, I would say, for a long time, suppose they compete in a college union election, let's say, but they are part of different groups and they compete for the same seat. So during the election time, what is happening is one group may try to ditch the other group, so the campaign goes that way, and finally when the results come, one of them wins, the other loses because of some reason or the other, and suddenly what can happen is one can become an enemy of the other. The one who wins is envied, rather he or she is seen with jealousy by the other person. So the thick friendship which was there for several years or long time, that has given way to opposition. I'm just quoting an example. This can happen. It has happened in say some institutions also. There is no, this is so the relationship which was there gives way to this opposition because of a certain event. So this election or the election campaign is just an event. So based on event or a particular incident, the naturally acceptable feelings in the relationship is overseen. This is what is happening over here. So the close friends, they do not speak for many days. Sometimes the days may give way to weeks or months, and this can prolong for some time. Finally, when they come out of the college, or rather when this election term is over, maybe the person who has fought for the election, maybe he is a chairman, let's say. Once his tenure is over, then the situation has changed. So the event has changed to another event, that the position is now not there. So maybe they start talking again, so they could recognize their relation once again. But is there right understanding in this relationship if it is changing with events, if it is changing with incidents? What do you think? If the feelings change from trust to mistrust, or relationship to opposition with events, is there right understanding, or something is lacking in this? But even in this case, with right understanding, if the two persons are having right understanding, and in case if one of them wins in a particular election campaign or something like that, they can continue this relationship. This also is there. I have in my college, there are several political groups or students organizations. So when elections come, they fight against each other for positions. But sometimes it is healthy fight. I can see that there is healthy fight. The students will be very good friends, but because they being part of different political groups or different student organizations, they just fight like that for votes only. And even when one of the student wins the election, they will continue their relationship just like that. Sometimes we can see that they are very good friends, and based on these events, based on these incidences, they do not lose their friendship. This also can happen. So you can say that there is right understanding. They can recognize that this particular incident is not long lasting. It is a temporary thing. So election is just coming and going, but the relationship is there. It is existing, and they can recognize this. Just for this example, to bring this importance of right understanding in a relationship. Otherwise, if there is no right understanding, what is going to happen is jealousy, opposition, not speaking to the other, breakage of relationship, sometimes arguments, debates, yeah, so on and so forth, many things. So feeling born out of understanding can be definite, unconditional, and continuous. Any sharing from your side with regard to this? Or any incident which you can relate where there is lack of understanding, or where there is understanding in relationships? You can put this in the chat box also. Okay, so this is what we say. As a consequence of 1A, the proposal 1A, I want to make myself always happy. I can see this 3A. This is my natural acceptance. I want to make myself happy, always happy is my natural acceptance. So as a consequence of that, I can see the other wants to make herself or himself always happy. So this I can see very easily, even when these questions were asked in the beginning. But now the important thing is that if I can see that I want to make the other always happy, as a consequence of that, I can see that the other wants to make me always happy. This is my natural acceptance. So when I can see that the other wants to make me always happy as a consequence of I want to make the other always happy, this doubt or intention fades away. My evaluation will be based on natural acceptance. I evaluate myself on the basis of natural acceptance. I evaluate the other also on the basis of natural acceptance. And I can see that competence wise, there is difference in persons. Ability is different from person to person. So if I can see that the response to 4A is a consequence of response to 2A, then this trust is there with every other person. This is a state in which I want to be, or state to which I want to be, my natural acceptance. And these two boxes which you see here on the right, this is regarding the ability part. The first box is regarding my ability part, and the second box on the bottom is regarding the ability of the other, or the competence of the other. So we have to work upon this. Evaluation of this ability, evaluation of this competence will be discussed in the next session later, maybe next Wednesday. We will discuss regarding this evaluation of this competence part. So with this clarity that the other person wants to make me happy, to be assured that the other person wants to make me happy always, I have this trust or intention with the other human being, rather with every other human being. Are you able to see this? That there is trust or intention. This is my desired state. I want to make myself happy. I want to make the other always happy. The other also wants to make me always happy. Can you see this? Can I get some response in the chat box? If this trust or intention is something which we can see as part of my natural acceptance. Yeah, Manjusha ji is typing yes in the chat box. Thank you. Okay, so this content has been discussed many times, and many times this is remaining as information within us. So now what is required is we have to experientially validate this, put this into practice, I would say. So with our life experiences, if we connect this, now we can see how many persons with whom I can have in this trust on intention unconditional, continuous. With those persons with whom I have an opposition, can I have this trust on intention? Can I see that the other person is lacking in competence, not intention? We may feel like somebody is trying to put me in trouble always, but that is because of this lack of competence, not lack of intention. You can have this this bar chart also. So we have discussed about this many times in the past, but still. So I consider this as myself, this bar as myself. I have certain level of competence and certain level of lack of competence. My imagination is guided by this natural acceptance, maybe this part only. But my imagination is guided by this what I call sensation and preconditioning part, and that is my lack of competence. So this is not verified with natural acceptance. So I have certain level of competence and certain level of lack of competence. And the other person, say another self, is having this much competence and this much lack of competence. Another person, if I see, is having more competence than me, and less lack of competence. So it varies from person to person. So what we say is intention or natural acceptance is same for all, whereas competence is different from person to person. And trust on intention is the takeaway from this. So if I am having this lack of competence, I am committed to seek help from the other who is having a better competence than me to improve my competence. This is what my teachers are doing. This is what my mentors are doing. This is what my parents are doing. And many others who also would be there who are having better competence than me. So I can seek help from the other to improve my competence. Now, if you can see that somebody else is having less competence than me, I am committed to help the other to improve his or her competence. So I'm able to see that the other has a natural acceptance, intention to make me happy. He or she may or may not have the competence to do so. That is why I try to help the other to improve his or her competence, as we discussed in the question before. So competence of various people may be quite different, as we can see in this particular picture. It is only a pictorial representation, just a representative picture only. So the actual level of competence may be different. You can evaluate the competence to whom you are coming into interaction or contact. So when we have this clarity with regard to this natural acceptance, trust on intention, evaluation on the basis of intention, not on the basis of competence with regard to trust. In this example of the glass being broken by the other, even if the other makes the same mistake 100 times, I am clear about his intention. I know the mistake is due to lack of competence, not due to lack of intention. I make effort to help him to improve his competence with a feeling of affection. That is very important. So when I start helping him or the other person who is having a lack of competence, I have to establish or I have to ensure the feeling of relationship with the other person. Like affection is a feeling between mother and child, let's say. That is the best example which we got for affection. So like how a mother takes care of her child in terms of care and guidance, that affection, that feeling of relatedness can be ensured with the other person before helping to improve the competence of the other person. So I can see that I know they have difficulty in understanding, and also I may have difficulty in explaining. So this is something which I experience many times when I explain something in the class, maybe a technical subject or maybe universal human value content. When I see that the other is not exploring, when the students are not understanding things, I used to get irritated earlier. I could not see that it may also be because I have difficulty in explaining. I felt that I have been explaining things very nicely. Even then, why can't these students understand? When it is to be reproduced, some theory, maybe some content is to be reproduced or applied in some context. This application is not coming properly. Rather, it is not coming in the intended sense. So what I feel like irritated in the past. But now I can see that with this trust on intention, that the other is not purposefully doing it, but the student is having this lack of competence in skill and understanding also. So it is my responsibility to help him to improve his competence. So I may have to explain in a different fashion. I may have to improve my level of understanding and my way of explanation so that the student may be getting a help to improve his competence. This is what I can see from my exploration. If you wish to add anything to this, you are welcome. Any of the co-explorers would like to add anything to this, you are welcome. Or any questions or any sharing from your side, you are welcome to do that. In my case also, when the glass is broken, I can see that I did not intend to break the glass. It is broken by accident. When I make the mistake even once, I am clear about my intention. I know the mistake is due to lack of competence, my lack of competence, not a lack of intention. I make effort to improve my own competence. So after realizing that I also am lacking this competence, I'm willing to learn and I'm going to make effort to improve my own competence. This is what I can see from this example and from this exploration. If the other is lacking in competence, I'm committed to help the other to improve his competence without becoming irritated. Even if the other is interacting with me with reaction, let's say, if I can see that the reaction mode is because of his lack of competence, I can respond to the other person and help him to improve his competence. But I have to make sure that a feeling of affection is there, or a feeling of relatedness is there with me and the other person. And that is necessary before I help him or her to improve his or her competence. So without becoming irritated, it is my responsibility, or it is my commitment to help the other to improve his competence. So the key thing over here is that trust on intention is the starting point for mutual development. This mutual happiness, when I say my behavior with the other human beings is established, or rather it is ensured only with this trust on intention. So again, this is my desired state. This is what I want to be. Let us start improving on competence, and let us help the other also to improve his or her competence with this trust on intention. Yeah. So I welcome any sharing from your side. Any questions with regard to this with the mic or with the chat box? So it's a particular juncture at which we have to explore and verify whether this is happening with me, whether I have this trust or intention with the other person, whether I can say that this is the starting point for mutual development, whether I can see that I'm lacking in competence, and I also have to improve through my right understanding. And when the other is lacking in competence, I'm committed to help the other, but after establishing or after ensuring this relationship with the other person without getting irritated. So this essence of this SIP is to help the students to find resolutions of their concerns, or resolutions of their issues, and fulfill their aspirations. To bring their attention to the basic human aspirations as continuous happiness and prosperity, and to find solutions of their concerns by themselves. So this is something which is important proposal as for this resolution of issues. Doubt on intention leads to issues like mistrust on the other, anger, fear in relationships, etc. With trust on intention, one is able to get rid of the root cause of such issues. So in the second level, that is UHV 2, the resolutions of such issues will be discussed further. So primary proposal here is that doubt on intention leads to issues like mistrust, anger, fear, etc. But with trust on intention, one is able to get rid of this root cause of such issues. One can see that this is because of lack of competence. So that root cause can be seen and it can be evaluated with this trust on intention. So we can get rid of this root cause and anger mode may not be there. Shashikant Bhaiya is typing, with these contents, apparently we don't need police and legal framework to punish a criminal. Yeah, Bhaiya, that is true. But it takes long time, I would say, because the content has to be verified by all of us. I'm taking long time to verify as well as validate the proposals. So when we discuss this content with the other, maybe a long time will be taken for the other to verify this proposal. So once this is there, verified as well as experientially validated by the other, by every human being, then as you said, we don't require this kind of punishments. But I won't say the police is not required, legal aspects are not required. Of course, they are required, but to help improving the competence of the other persons. So this is anger, reason, and solution. Let us quickly go through this. Anger arises when we are not able to differentiate between the intention and competence of the other. Based on lack of competence of the other, we doubt over their intention. This is what is happening with many of us if we have this doubt on intention. Once we have doubt on the intention of the other, then instead of relating to the other, we feel in opposition to the other. Thus, any small unfavorable incidents may lead to irritation or even anger. So this is maybe the current situation. This may be the current situation with some of us. And as solution, what we propose here is, if I understand the human being correctly, that is, human being is coexistence of self and body. And then if I am able to see that the other is a human being like me, that is coexistence of self and body. The other self has the intention, that is natural acceptance, to be happy and make the other happy, just like me. So this similarity can be seen by me, and I can also see that the intention of the other person is exactly same as mine. The other may be lacking in competence to fulfill their intention, just like I'm lacking in competence. So this is something which we can see. So when we can see this, then the solution is there with me. Shashikant Bhaiya is typing, sometimes we become vulnerable to possible victims of criminals who lack competency and right understanding. Yeah. But we can also see this, that the other is lacking competence largely. Like in the bar charts which we saw, the imagination which is guided by natural acceptance is very low for some persons. So the first thing is, before helping the other to improve competence, we have to establish a good relation, and that itself may take time. So we do not keep our bags on the seat of a railway compartment and go outside, because we see that the people are having different levels of competence. So we do not do that blindly. When we say that we can trust everybody, we do not do this. This also is part of this. So let us try to improve our own competence and help others also to improve their competence. So with trust on intention, we feel related to the other, then there is no feeling of anger. This is what we propose over here. The reason for anger is not seeing the competence of the other. We evaluate the other on the basis of competence rather than intention. But when we see that the other human being is similar to me, like me, then I can easily see that I am lacking in competence, and so the other also is lacking in competence. So with trust on intention, we feel related and there is no feeling of anger. This is also a desirable state. Yeah, so there are a couple of slides more. So I don't close this for the day because it is time. Let us wind up the session with this particular slide. But if anybody, yeah, thank you, Paya, for the comments, Shashikan Paya. If anybody would like to share something, we can take a couple of minutes more. Any questions or any sharing, experiential validation, we can take some time. Otherwise, we can wind up for the day and we can continue discussion on the next Wednesday. Thank you, Damodaraji. So I think we have been exploring this content very nicely and there are no questions. All questions are resolved, I suppose. So if you have any more questions, we can discuss this in the next Wednesday's meeting. We continue this exploration. Thank you very much for the participation and your exploration and sharing by some of the participants, Jagdish Paya to be precise, and the comments in the chat box are also appreciated. Thank you so much. Over to you, Paya. Jagdish Paya.
Yeah, thank you, Bhaiya. It was very nice and explorative session. And I hope all of our co-explorers would verified the proposals and we meet with the content on Wednesday. Thank you, Bhaiya. Thank you all. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you all.
Namaste.